Here on Wham Baam Dashcam, we've shown you over 1,000 dashcam videos sent in by our fans, and we serve up 20 new ones every week. Today we're showcasing some of the craziest clips we've ever featured, so buckle up for Wham Baam Dashcam's Worst Drivers of North Carolina, Volume 1. Chase was heading home from work when he watched a white pickup suddenly cross into oncoming lanes. After going off the road on the wrong side, the pickup drove through the tall grass before veering back toward the road and finally slamming into a power pole. Thankfully, it didn't hit any oncoming traffic. Chase doesn't know what happened as he didn't stop, but he told us he saw multiple other people stop to render aid. Alex and his wife had just picked up their daughter from karate class and were on their way home when they found themselves in the middle of a huge storm with high winds and heavy rain. Alex told us he was going about 30 miles per hour due to the low visibility when he slammed on the brakes for debris in the road. He managed to slide to a stop before hitting a downed tree, but the driver behind him wasn't able to stop. Alex's Infiniti Q50 was launched over the downed tree when a Subaru slammed into it from behind. Firefighters, paramedics, and the State Highway Patrol all responded to the scene. Miraculously, there were no serious injuries, and Alex's daughter Sophia was completely unharmed. His insurance claim is still pending, but he said it seems pretty cut and dry as far as liability is concerned. He wanted to shout out his daughter for being a trooper, and told us she insists on watching both Wham Baam Dashcam and Wham Baam Teslacam with him every week. Reese was driving down a road with double yellow lines when a pickup driver ahead of him decided to illegally pass a whole bunch of cars. I'm betting he wasn't expecting what happened next. Reese told us he pulled into a parking lot to save this footage, the first time he's ever captured instant justice on his dashcam. He told us he's tickled to finally have something to send to Wham Baam Dashcam. Blair was heading through an intersection when a driver from the right went flying through his red light, slamming into her Toyota 4Runner, ripping off the front bumper cover and bending the frame. A witness stopped to provide a statement to the police. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, and the other driver admitted fault and told the cops he'd been jamming out when the collision occurred. Blair hopes her 2005 4Runner with 229,000 miles won't be totaled, but personally, I'd take the opportunity to upgrade. 4Runner fans, let me know in the comments all the reasons why I'm wrong. Kyle watched the driver of a blue Model 3 run a red light after deciding they couldn't bear to wait 18 whole seconds for the light to turn green. Roll the jingle. That Tesla man can't drive. Sadly, there were no cops around to administer instant justice this time, but the Tesla driver didn't exactly get away with it either. Now we all get to judge them in the court of public opinion. Render your verdict in the comments. Alex was on his way to a work seminar. When his GPS began having issues, he took his eyes off the road in an attempt to get it working again. He freely admits that what happened next was his own fault. Alex accidentally ran a red light while he wasn't paying attention. Only by slamming on the brakes and by God's mercy was he able to avoid colliding with a Porsche. After that close call, Alex pulled over to fix his GPS and to change his pants, I assume. When Trey's light turned green, there was nobody in the lane on his right as he accelerated. A few seconds later, a black Infiniti came speeding up on his right, and you know what they say, bad drivers never miss their exits. The Infiniti driver tried to cut across Trey's lane, clipping the fender of his Chevy Silverado. You'll never guess what she told the police when they responded to the scene. Trey said she claimed he had sped up and hit her, but that was before she realized he'd captured the entire incident on his dash cam. Trey's insurance provider took care of everything after the Infiniti driver apologized. Bill was waiting at a red light when he watched a taxi driver roll right through it.
Wow.
Unfortunately for him, a Jacksonville police officer had just pulled up in the right turn lane. When he saw the taxi driver's illegal maneuver, he chased him down to deliver some instant justice. Luke's Acura TLX was parked at a hotel when it was Honda bumped by a driver who'd been blocked in by a box truck.
Honda bumped! Honda bumped!
The Honda driver pulled out at an angle, clipping Luke's car. After pulling forward, he took another run at it. Literally, he fled the scene of the accident. Sadly, neither Luke's dashcam nor the hotel cameras got a shot of his license plate. Luke made a police report anyway, so if you recognize this vehicle and its stickers, well, you know. Carlos turned onto a street to find a driver who evidently didn't realize the road was a one-way. The other driver turned onto a different street after Carlos drove by, honking and pointing at the one-way signs. Corey was driving down a highway when the driver of an Acura SUV abruptly dove across lanes, forcing him to swerve into the passing lane to avoid getting sideswiped. Thankfully, Corey was able to check that the passing lane was clear before swerving, and no collision occurred. When he honked, Corey told us the other driver reacted as though Corey was in the wrong. Jenna was driving her 4-year-old to school when a company pickup came across the double yellow lines into her lane. Jenna swerved, but the pickup still struck her Jeep Renegade before speeding off. The driver behind her was nearly hit as well, and they stopped and called 911 for Jenna while she called her husband. Jenna told us the pickup driver called the police an hour later and told them that she'd hit him before driving off. After Jenna provided her dashcam footage, the other driver lost his job and his driver's license. Jenna was pregnant when this collision occurred and has since given birth to a healthy baby boy. Even though the collision did $6,500 in damage to her Jeep, there were no injuries to her, her baby, or her 4-year-old. Kevin was driving home after dinner with a friend when they watched another driver go the wrong way around an island and end up driving into oncoming traffic.
He's driving in the oncoming lane. Wham Bam, how you doing?
Eventually, the other driver figured out his mistake. Kevin and his friend Aaron laughed as they drove off. Thankfully, no collisions occurred. Peyton was headed to work when some slow trucks were using the left lane of the highway. Watch what happened after Peyton took to the right lane to pass them. After one of the trucks swerved into Peyton's lane and hit Peyton's Mazda CX-5, the trucker continued down the highway. Peyton caught up to the trucker, who was confused and thought Peyton was road raging against him. After pulling over, they were able to straighten everything out. It turned out the trucker had swerved to avoid hitting an SUV that had crashed into the guardrail. He didn't realize he had hit Peyton's Mazda at all. They exchanged information and first responders arrived. Police made a report but didn't write any citations. Peyton is now working on getting the trucker's insurance provider to pay for repairs. Peyton doesn't have an official repair estimate but was told the Mazda would need a new fender, bumper cover, headlight, and mirror. Plus, the door and hood would need to be repainted. Peyton's mother, Jonna, is getting a shout out for watching all our new videos every weekend. They watch Tesla Cam, Dashcam, and Security Cam together every Saturday. Thanks, you two. We're glad you're satisfied. Kevin threaded the needle between two drivers who pulled out onto the highway in front of him. Kevin told us he was obeying the 60-mile-per-hour speed limit when a pickup truck and a car entered from an on-ramp before occupying both lanes while still getting up to speed. Thankfully, he narrowly avoided colliding with either of them. Cameron only had 12,000 miles on his 2022 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon EcoDiesel when a teenager driving a Honda failed to yield, turning in front of him and causing a brutal T-bone collision.
Honda bumped!
Cameron said he'd only had the pickup for 6 months when this happened. The insurance claim is still being processed, but he fully expects them to pay off the truck and cover his medical bills based on this footage. Cameron described his Jeep Gladiator as his dream car and told us, "Rip to a real one. We feel you, bro. We're just glad you're okay." Corey experienced something similar when he watched a pickup driver lose control on a wet off-ramp in North Carolina. Corey tried lowering his window to check on the pickup driver, but evidently they weren't feeling sociable, so he continued. He told us he's a big fan and our channel heavily influenced him to buy a dash cam. Alex was waiting at a traffic light when he watched another vehicle get rear-ended. Keep an eye on the cars to the right as they make their way toward the intersection.
Oh shit. Come on. That Hyundai just hit the Honda. She ran.
A black car rear-ended a red car that was waiting to turn left, but before anybody could react, the driver of the black car turned right and sped off. Alex told us the driver of the red car then took off in pursuit. Alex contacted the police and offered them a copy of his dashcam footage, but they told him there hadn't been any collisions reported for that location and time. This submitter approached an intersection with a green light where a bus driver was waiting patiently to make a right on red.
Wow.
Okay, maybe not so patiently. The bus driver recklessly pulled out in front of traffic, forcing the Lexus in front of our submitter to screech to a halt and putting themselves and their riders in danger. Our submitter called the local transit office and informed them of the incident, letting them know he had dashcam footage. They had him leave a voicemail with the transit safety office, and so far, they haven't called him back. Our submitter guesses the transit office must not care so long as no collision occurred. He also told us he's a huge fan of all our channels, and as an electrical engineer, he can't wait to own a Tesla of his own. Courtney was driving her Hyundai Accent when she was suddenly clipped by the driver of a Mercedes GLE 350. After hitting the corner of her Hyundai, the Mercedes driver sped off while Courtney followed her for around 3 miles. When she finally did pull over, she accused Courtney of causing the collision and cussed her out. Courtney told us she called 911 while the Mercedes driver tried to intimidate her into providing her own insurance details so she could leave, as she was late for a meeting. Courtney refused and made her wait for the cops. After the police arrived and watched the dashcam footage, they issued the Mercedes driver a citation for leaving the scene of a collision. Thankfully, nobody was injured, either by the collision or by the Mercedes driver. Courtney told us she bought a VIOFO dashcam after we recommended them, and she couldn't be happier. To get your own, check the link in the video description. Jolene was driving down the interstate when she had to slam on her brakes for traffic that was stacking up at an exit ramp. After waiting patiently, she was shocked when a trucker went driving past her on the shoulder.
Oh my.
Jolene noted that she didn't report the trucker to the police, but now she thinks she should have. That was a pretty dangerous way to save 5 minutes. Andrew watched the driver of a Dodge Challenger run a red light and T-bone a crossing Toyota Prius. Both drivers stopped, and Andrew told us the driver of the Challenger got out and checked on the Prius driver. Andrew also stopped, along with a nurse who had witnessed the collision. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Andrew gave everyone his contact info, but he said nobody was interested in seeing his dashcam footage. He told us firefighters and paramedics arrived on scene as he left. Casey Keys was waiting in a left turn lane when a semi-truck turning in front of her cut the corner a little too close, only stopping when she laid on the horn. Thankfully, the trucker heard her honking and stopped with inches to spare. Once she backed up as much as she could, the truck was able to finish the turn. Her 10-year-old son summed up the situation nicely. Peaky Fox spotted an SUV driver rolling through a red light and sideswiping a car with the right-of-way. She stopped and provided the car driver with her contact info and told them she had dashcam footage of the collision. The SUV driver was immediately apologetic. Peaky Fox wanted to remind our viewers that if you have a dashcam, you should always stop and provide your footage if you witness a collision. Alex was taking some friends visiting from out of town back to their hotel after dinner. Suddenly, he noticed a Dodge Charger speeding up behind him, followed closely by a Nissan Murano and another car.
Holy shit, that's an unmarked Camaro. Oh no, this is a chase. This is a chase.
Out of nowhere, an unmarked Chevy Camaro took off in pursuit, followed by a marked Dodge Charger. That's double instant justice. Alex and his friends shared a good laugh at the speeder's expense.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.